Hey, Matt. What about
Hey, how's
you?
it going?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for asking. So, Matt, the last days have been really, really interesting in the world of artificial intelligence. Many things happening, like I don't know, like the discovery of like fake videos from President of Panama. So, at the end of the day, this is something that is in everybody's life today,
Hmm.
and it's evolving at a very, very rapid rate. And I think it's time to think, based on our conversation, how these things actually affect the creativity. Because usually, people, especially our colleagues, professors and teachers, might seem the AI tools like something that might not be that good for the creativity of people. But it's not just we are not just the one to say that, but
Hmm.
it's I think it's something that it makes interesting if we are curious about that. What are you curious about this relation? Have you
Yeah,
think about the relationship between those concepts?
yeah. No, I think a lot of thoughts, and so many. If you listen carefully, I may just even contradict myself. It's because
Yeah.
it's such a new world, right? But this whole idea, and it's interesting. I like because I'm a tech optimist, right? I'm an optimist about everything. So, like you're talking about fake videos and AI, I was like, oh wow, I guess those exist. I haven't seen them yet, but I naturally kind of gravitate toward the positive or the potential, right? So just recently, I heard someone expressing their concern about AI and creativity that I hadn't thought about, but it made perfect sense. Yeah. And the idea is that with AI, especially these, the ability to create images, you could just, I've been doing it lately. Just ask Dali or one of these other Mid Journey or whatever, create an image of this or make something like this. That instead of creating on our own, we'll just get lazy creatively speaking, right? That we'll just kind of outsource all of our current creative actions to AI. And I see that potential, but I think there's also another way to look at that, that it might just the same way as we talked about AI and ChatGPT not replacing writing and content, but just accelerating how much we can do and how well we can do it. I'm wondering if AI actually has the potential to make us more creative. And what I mean by that is I can share even a personal anecdote, but when we talk about curiosity-based thinking as it pertains to learning, yeah, that we learn more, we learn better, we become lifelong learners when we're engaged from our curiosity forward. AI is the perfect thing to make us learn more about creativity and to become more creative. Yeah. Because what happens is if you're not already an artist, if you're not already creative, if you're not already doing these creative things, it allows you just with a little bit of curiosity to create something, and then from there want to learn more about it and how to create better, how to create more creative objects, right? And the example I'll give is this is when all of this about a year ago, I think it was like November 30th, 2022, when Dali, the art or the image generator came out. I remember there was someone created a prompt book for the images, and a part of it was labeled a prompt book, but really what it was, and I can share a link. I think it's still live. We'll make sure we share a link with people because it's fascinating. Is it wasn't really it was a prompt book, but beyond a prompt book, it was an entire art history bachelor's degree in like a 20-page PDF that I never would have studied, never would have learned. I wouldn't have learned, I know my Picasso and I know my, impressionist, your generic things, but I started learning about different artistic movements, artistic styles, artists, and all of this from this book, only because now instead of being someone who is ignorant about art, I could participate in it, right? I can barely write my name so someone can read it. But now I could learn about an artistic movement that I was curious about, or a style of art, or a painter that caught my curiosity. And I could start mixing them and combining them together and creating something with it through these tools that I felt it made me more creative, and not only more creative, but more informed, more intelligent person when I was creating, because I was like, oh, does that make sense? I mean, I'll go on and on and on, but because it was able to trigger my, and by triggering my curiosity, remember, curiosity isn't just wanting to learn something, it's doing something with it. Yeah. And that's where a lot of education fails, is that we can get, like in art class, I can get curious about something, but if I can't produce it myself, my enthusiasm, my engagement can fall, my curiosity can fall. But with these AI tools, we can go from curiosity to production in such a short amount of time. It opens new windows for things like learning and different types of creations, right? So I think in many ways there's an opportunity for AI to make us more creative. I will say it can. That's the operative word here. It takes will. It takes initiative. Yeah, like there are. It could make us less creative, but and that's where my enthusiasm comes from, is how can we focus on getting people so curious that when they encounter these new tools, the AI that's coming for us, whether we like it or not, they approach it with let's create something as opposed to let's replace something. So and I think that's, if we can get them curious enough and practicing their curiosity, I don't see any reason why AI and the future technology don't make us the most creative it's ever been.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you in pretty much everything that you said, and I would like to add something special
Yeah.
here today. Okay, let me see if this thing works. Yeah, it works. So the thing here is, let's say, okay, so I'm an engineer. So
Okay.
usually, when I'm talking about the evolution of something, we used to draw like a two-axis, uh, very simple graphics. And if
Hmm.
I say, okay, this is time, and this is pretty much evolution,
Yeah.
and I will use the yellow one to say, hey, and this is not something that is actually a fact. No, this is a question. Okay,
Hmm.
we are saying that AI is evolving like in this way. I will say the AI, and pretty much is the pretty basic graph for every single technology. You have a high slope at the beginning, but it's natural to have
The
this,
plateau. Yeah.
yeah, a plateau in this way because you will have like a limit.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, if something happens, you might have another event, and then you might have another one.
Yeah.
But let's say this is AI, and well, I will use the blue for creativity. The creativity is some people will say, "Hey, this is something that is linear,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and it never stops. Some will say that. And other people, okay, it might be a thing that it's exponential because the creativity it has some elements based on time. That the more elements that you add to the brain, for example, you are more creative, something like
Hmm.
that. And other people will say, hey, no, this is not true. The creativity of people, it does not depend on the amount of information of the tool that you have. So for the next years, it might have this another form. So basically, we have the one, we have two here, and we have the three options. Maybe you may have another set of options that this is something to argue if you want. But the thing is, if we are saying that AI is evolving and it will have a plateau in the coming future, and it might be in 5, in 10, in 20 years, we are, I'm not sure yet. I'm sure nobody is sure is sure of how long it will take to have the plateau.
Yeah.
If we accept that condition, we are accepting that creativity will have a plateau as well
Hmm.
by the effect of that's
Hmm.
the first graphic, but I will draw another one, a very simple one. Okay, let me try to do this in a fast way, set background that way, and if we say, okay, now we have this graphic. I will have two options here. I will have the option one, and I will have the option two. And if we say, hey, what if AI, and this is something that I'm very curious, you know, it doesn't have a plateau. Why? And you will say, hey, Nestor, are you saying that AI is a evergreen evolution and it's an ever evolving and never ending process? I will say, and this is my personal opinion, I will say yes. I
Mhm.
think AI is something that won't have a plateau. I think
It seems that way.
we are facing the first technology. Okay, is my personal taking. I
Mhm.
think that we are facing the first technology in history that won't have a plateau, because the better it gets, I would say
Mhm.
today, the better it will be tomorrow. So
Yep.
it's a perfect correlation in the line of evolution. So basically, if we accept these graphics instead of accepting the traditional one, I can say, yes, we will be affected in a very positive way in the curiosity based
Mhm.
on the AI. And for that reason, the evolution of curiosity, we are approaching, I would say for the first time in history, uh, an evolution of the possibilities of create the world that actually science fiction movies have been thinking over the last 20 years.
Right.
That's my personal taking. I'm sorry it was too long, but
No,
that's
no,
my.
this is fantastic. I agree with all of this, and I think you're right. That's the best way to we'll be able to create science fiction realities, right? Science fiction will become science nonfiction. I guess you could say.
I like drawings because I can't stop being an engineer.
No, no, I like that. I was going to comment that really helped me visualize different things. And one of the thoughts that I took away from it, because I like the visualization or the trajectory of both technology and creativity, because that's like ultimately what we're talking about here. And if I understand you correctly, you're looking at there's an opportunity for technology, or I should say creativity, to actually break the traditional trajectory thanks to the uniqueness of the technology, which is AI. And I was trying to think, it made me think of something. I guess it's one of those chicken or the egg questions, right? And I don't know exactly how to phrase it. But have you ever heard of the phrase like, the cart and the horse? Like, you don't put the cart in front of the horse. So like you have the horse pulls the cart, and then the cart is pulled by the horse, right? There's an order to it. And it makes me wonder, we're talking about technology and creativity, and I like the way you're showing their trajectories. Which one's the cart and which one's the horse? So, do you know what I mean? Is technology is creativity limited by technology? And I mean historically, all the way back to like caveman days. Are we always going to be creatively speaking, right? Creativity wise, are we always going to be one step behind our technology? And remember, a pen is technology, right? So, how did we express our creativity without technology? Or is our creativity pulling the technology, meaning we can't come up, how do we create the technology without creativity? So
Yeah,
and it makes me wonder, that's what your graphs made me wonder, is this, what is that relationship between technology and creativity? Or even maybe not relationship, but what is the process? Let's go engineering terms. What's the sequence between
yeah.
those two?
I will add something to that question, to that specific question,
Uh-huh.
with two examples.
Okay.
If we go back like 25,000 years in past, to Egypt, and we think on the process, and we say, hey, what technology did they have at this time that was good enough to be able to go to today, New York, Chicago, London, whatever, everywhere in the world, and be able to watch, to see, in a very good, I would say, in a very good condition. The technology that they had at this time allowed what we see today, like many thousand years after. But they had some restrictions in another set of technologies. Hey, the security of the pyramids, the how safety it was the
Hmm.
process, the health of the patient, the medicine. They had some restrictions. And
Hmm.
I think if you take off the equation the restrictions, you can be more creat- creative. And why?
Hmm.
Because you are shorting the time that you need to find the tool to try out the next experiment.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you have like a super assistant that is the AI,
Hmm.
and you are taking out of the equation the time of researching for the new tool that you need to answer a what if question. Hey,
Uh-huh.
what if I add this chemical to this solution? What if I blend this with sulfur with sugar? And I'm not the expert on chemistry, but I have the assistant. So basically, you are shortening the time, and you have time to be
Yep.
more creative. But there's a catch here. You need to train your curiosity,
Hmm.
because it's not the creativity, it's how curious you are about the questions that you are asking. Because I think that makes perfect sense to be trained not on how to be creative, because this is something that I think is part of the nature. It's how to be more curious.
Yep.
How do you work together. How do you ride along with the AI assistant in a curious process
Hmm.
to develop more creativity. And I think this is the time for startups, for small companies, to think in a different way, because usually the startups say, hey, we are in the first stage of the technology, so now the value of our company is blah 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 blah. Because the traditional way is always says that it will be a plateau in the future, and I'm saying that it won't be. So if you say it won't be a plateau in the future, so basically, it's like, hey, this is a never-ending pool of opportunities to create more tools that actually will keep the pace with with creativity. Okay, might be something really hard to express because it's a lot of
Makes
philosophy.
it makes sense because it kind of answers the question. It seems then that creativity is pulling technology, and that's why it can break the curve.
No, yeah,
Because creativity, as we know, and curiosity is what pushes creativity. There's no bounds. There's the only bounds are ourselves. Yeah. So that makes no. That I like that example. Sure.
yeah. I remember I have a professor that he was a very creative man. But at some point, he confessed, but I'm not very curious. And I say, hey, what do you mean, professor?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I'm very creative with the tools, creating many things at the lab. Like this is my work, my daily life. But I think I'm not curious enough to think what's how people will use this. What if I don't create that? What if I change something? So basically, I'm very bad with the what if, because the what if is not perfect.
Yep.
It doesn't have a perfect limitation.
Yep.
And he was a science guy, and he was saying, hey, I'm very creative because I know if I take this and I take another element, I'm quite sure that I will have these results.
Yeah.
But he was saying, the thing is that I feel like I'm creating stuff for, I would say, for things that won't be used in the future. I'm not sure, and I was remembering, okay, if that professor was like 25 years ago, he had access to the
Mhm.
level of AI that we have today. That's the people that you need to put in front of AI assistants on AI tools, because
Yep.
AI will help them out to find new ways or new roads
Mhm.
in the process of discovering and creating things.
Yep.
Okay, I think that's a correlation in those things, in those areas.
Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting. It's like the combinations and the collaborations. Listening to you talk, I also wrote down, you're talking about the whole, not just creativity, but innovation. There's creativity and innovation, and the way this AI, a lot of the technology currently, and again, like you said, it's going to be like nothing we can imagine by tomorrow. But even what we have right now, the idea that you could have Tesla and Edison working together potentially, right? So you can the different combinations, and you were talking about accelerating processes and accelerating discoveries and creativity. It's going to be fascinating because we can combine, or we'll be able to combine, both ourselves plus potentially minds from the past and from other places that we normally couldn't reach, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah,
But like you said, driven by curiosity. If you're not curious, if you're not curious to ask or to bring this person into the conversation or to use AI in these ways, you're still limited. So you're really, we're curiosity is the limitation on the acceleration of creativity with AI.
definitely. So I think it would be a perfect time for have a conversation with a group of developers or with a group of AI, I would say, techies,
Yep.
uh, because
Yeah.
that set of questions is something that will add a lot of value for new companies and for people trying to create new tools on the new the general AI. That is something that actually it changed the totally it changed the game. I would say in 100%. Yep, there's many questions. There's many things to be curious about.
Yeah.
And okay, today was long, but I think it worth the
Oh,
time.
there's a lot that we could talk about with creativity and the connection between. We didn't get too much into the. We could just explore the connection between curiosity and creativity a lot more. So yeah, we got plenty to talk about later in the
Yep.
week. Yeah, this is great.
Okay, Matt. So nice to see you today.
Yep. Have a good one, Nestor. Thanks.
You too.